Hi everyone, just wanted to talk about my experience at the moment and what we're doing with regards to the fact that we're planning a wedding and then basically taking our minds off it for now because we can't really think too much about that right now because we don't know when we can reschedule it for. There's a lot of stuff we don't know, right? So, but what we do know is we're excited about potentially purchasing a first house within a 12-month period and hopefully sooner. So it's going to be really interesting. I've done a lot of research and I just wanted to share some of the tips and some of the research that I've done. And this is in no way a financial advice. This is just what I have done and what we are still doing. And yeah, I don't plan to replace any banks or any mortgage advisors, all right? The first thing that we obviously had to do was to save a lot of money and basically just work hard, reducing our outgoings and trying to increase our incomings, right? So moving to a better job, that kind of stuff. And then the next thing is choosing the right savings in terms of an ISA, or basically just planning for how much money you want to save between now and next year. For example, if you want to buy a house in 12 months, how much do you have? Is it feasible? That kind of stuff. The simple calculations of do I need to save £200 a month over potentially saving £400 a month. This is really important because obviously you need a minimum of 10% for most houses if you're going for a used house, and you would need 5% if you're going for a brand new house. But for us, what's been really interesting is we're gonna deal with the wedding first before thinking about buying properties, but now we're not even sure if the wedding's gonna go along in July, so we've already started thinking about what are we going to do about buying a house. Are we going to buy a house before we get married? Who knows? It's really interesting right now. Everyone thinks that the market might go down, and I'm interested to find out, because then we can take advantage of some really good discounts, and to get a bigger house we can basically get more for our money. Okay, what we did basically was cut down, right? So cut down on the partying, cut down on going out, cut down on how much food you go out for in terms of takeaways and in terms of restaurants. That's what we did, cut down. Okay, and then when it got easier for us, then obviously we lifted the lid on that as well. So that's basically it. Okay, right. So our options were Help to Buy ISA and Lifetime ISA in terms of the government schemes, which were really good, because then you can save £200 a month or £400 a month. With the Lifetime ISA, you've got more flexibility. So with the Help to Buy ISA, you can save £200 a month, and that's pretty easy to save when either you are a student or you are working full-time. That's easier to save. Okay, with the Lifetime ISA, you don't have to save each month. So if you just need to have put in £4,000 into that account, and you can't use it to buy a house until the account is at least 12 months old. So that's really interesting as well if you want to use the Lifetime ISA. The main differences as well is with the Help to Buy ISA, obviously they've closed it now in terms of new applications, but if you've already got Help to Buy ISA, you can still use it. The only downside is you have to apply for it through your solicitor, but with the Lifetime ISA, it comes into your account, and I believe it's easier. We live in Oxfordshire, and it's a nightmare, right? So in Scotland, you can get a really decent 3-bedroom house for 250,000 and you'd be laughing. Okay, in this side of England, it's not the case. We are looking at spending at least 300,000 to 325,000 for a 3-bedroom house. Obviously, you don't have to go as big as this. You can go for a 2-bedroom house if you want, and you can go into that £250,000 mark. Okay, if you are to buy a new house, my advice would be not to buy a new house if you feel like you won't be in that area for 3 to 5 years at least, because if you move into a new house, the prices are inflated because it's a brand new house. The same way if you're buying a brand new car, the prices are quite high, and once you've taken it out of the garage, it's literally dropped in price, depreciated. The same thing with the house. However, if you leave it for 5 to 10 years with a new house, it will appreciate at some point based on economy. However, if you're buying a car, that does not apply. Your car will not appreciate unless it's a classic car. Okay, so that's just fact. So what have we done? What have we done so far? So far, what we've done is we've looked at houses. We found what we really like. We know we don't like some terraced houses. We know we don't want a detached house because we can't afford it, and we know that we need to look between the brokers and the actual banks, because not every deal that is actually live is available, if that makes sense. It's not available for everyone. You kind of have to do due diligence to see that you're actually getting the best deal in terms of your mortgage. Thing is, you get better deals as well. It save 10% for a house. If you went as high as 15 to 20%, it would be better for you, basically. So I think to end, the real question is, will the market prices fall or not? I don't know. I can't tell the future, and we'll see. And if it does, I will be here to gain from it as I'm buying my first house, and I think many other people will as well. So it's been really exciting. We've done a lot of planning, we've done a lot of reading, we've done our research, and we're really excited to get something quickly. And believe it or not, it's probably gonna be the most expensive thing that we'll buy ever. So yeah, it's very, very exciting times. If there was one advice to give a younger person, of would be definitely to have started my Help to Buy ISA a lot younger, because you can transfer the Help to Buy ISA into a lifetime ISA regardless if you're in England or Scotland. So if I was 18 years old and I started it over 5 years, I would have saved the £12,000 and then got the £3,000 from the Help to Buy ISA to then buy a house. But things don't always work out like that. You might choose to enjoy your life in a different way, and you spend the money, and it's, you've got nothing to show for it later on. Okay, so the few tips that we've received in terms of when we're buying a house and when we're going to view it is to check if the windows actually have the keys. If they don't have the keys, then there's a chance that the windows don't work or they're really old, and you should be worried about that. Do the light switches work? What's the decor like? There's the ceiling stuff. My fiance is not a big fan of the ceilings that are kind of textured, so once we've seen them, we've just been like, nope. And then obviously to make sure that the boiler is actually within like potentially 5-year guarantee, and if it's not, then make sure that you know how old it is, because if it's too old, you might have to look to buy a new one, which is really expensive. And in England, if you're going to buy a house, there's a massive difference between a leasehold and a freehold. Make sure that you know those differences, because if you're buying a flat, for example, the chances of it being leasehold is extremely high, which then means that you've got a lease that you've got to be paying for the land because your property is on someone else's land. In Scotland, this is not a thing. I had to learn that, and it was very interesting. I think the top 3 things that we really want in a property is for it to be less than 10 years old, for it to have a drive and a garage, and the last thing is for the rooms to be a decent size.